Welcome, everyone. This meeting has been a long time coming, and so I'm really excited to share with you today. We would like to start out by sharing with you what is Thrive? Who are we? What are we about? So I want to spend a few moments to tell you about Thrive, our purpose, and our mission. As you see here on the screen, our purpose is merely to provide and support programs and experiences that will increase inclusion, diversity, as well as promote the success and the advancement of Black employees at NTT Data across all levels and at all levels. This mission and this purpose was built upon 3 core values that we are in alignment with, and I would like to share that with you today. We want to establish a community of engaged people within NTT Data Services that will, again, support the attraction and retention of Black employees. We also want to promote diversity that is reflective of the diversity that is representative not only within our own communities, but also in the clients in which we serve. And last and certainly not least, we want to continue to support the growth of a more diverse senior leadership team, which statistics show makes a more profitable and innovative business. Since our inception, we were 61 members at the launch of Thrive back on July 9th, 2019. Today, we stand tall at 470 members. So virtual round of applause for that. Our global reach is across 20 states and 3 countries, and we are only setting our sights to expand more in the future. You can find out more about Thrive by visiting the NTT Data Services Diversity and Inclusion site. Once you reach that site, you can click on the employee resource groups, and then you could see not only Thrive, but a list of our other employee resource groups within NTT Data Services. Next slide, please. I would be remiss if I only told you about the mission and the purpose of Thrive without sharing with you the leadership team that is behind Thrive. So this leadership team, as you see their faces here today, is comprised of chapter and regional leaders who are actively involved in the success and the progress of Thrive. They truly embody that mission and purpose, and they work very hard to make sure that we are active in our membership and our participation. So shout out to the leaders of Thrive. Let me give you a little bit of background on the leadership and what the responsibilities are. So everyone that you see here today, like I had mentioned, they represent a chapter. They either have stood up the chapter and they're leading the charge in their respective locations. But they are responsible for managing the individual chapters, which include the 4 pillars that allow us to carry out Thrive's global and local initiatives. And those 4 pillars are corporate and community outreach, professional development, communications and engagement, and the Thrive ERG operations. We will talk a little bit more about that as we progress within the presentation today, but those are our 4 pillars. As I had mentioned, if you can go on to the next slide. As I mentioned, currently, we have core initiatives that Thrive set out to implement and adopt. And these global initiatives, again, are a part of Thrive's core beliefs, and each chapter is responsible for implementing them in each one of their locations. As you see here, there are 3. The first one is Grow to Thrive. This is merely bringing about education and awareness on topics that impact our Black team members within NTT Data and identifying professional development opportunities and programs that's going to help create career growth. So that's Grow and Thrive. There are some focus areas in which each individual chapter stand up and they work hard to bring about in their local chapters, and you'll hear more about that today. The second one is Meant to Thrive. This is a Thrive mentorship program for NTT Data current employees as well as our company interns. And the reason why we stood this particular initiative or program up is we wanted to help develop the passions of our employees, as well as the interns, the incoming employees and interns within NTT Data. And so we've had some successes in that area, and we would share that with you in the next slide in just a moment. Last, and certainly again, not least, Food to Thrive. Food to Thrive is another program that we look to build relationships within community organizations that can help guide and support the mission of Thrive and our goals. Again, we've had some really great ventures in this area, and I'm looking forward to the chapter sharing what they've done in this respect as well. Next slide, please. So this last slide here, I'll take a little bit more time to share with you what are some of our successes as for Thrive as a whole. This first category that you see here, the ERG operations and CDIO alignment. And I'll just touch on a few of these. Again, if you want to learn more, please go to our diversity and inclusion website and click on ERG. And you'll be able to see some of the things that we've done. But the first thing that we've done in this first category is we've had a series of panel discussions and speaker series. We really spent time trying to help foster those healthy discussions about race and ethnicity and addressing the inequalities and injustices that we're seeing in our world today. They have proved to be very successful and fruitful. And so we are very gracious and appreciative of all of our executive leadership and the Thrive members that participated in those. The other thing I would like to highlight is, we had an opportunity, we had a benefit of sitting down with our CEO, Bob Pryor, to have some roundtable discussions. And I will be the first to say, not the last, that our CEO has been very committed to meeting with all of the ERGs, not just Thrive, to better understand what our issues are and what are our areas of concerns that we can work with him and the leadership team and to create an environment within NTT Data that, again, is more diverse, it's inclusive, and it's also equitable for all. He also has written an action for diversity and inclusion that's also uniting our business community and working to promote that diversity and inclusion by outlining some specific actions that are aimed to fostering a trusting work environment. So we're very appreciative to Bob Pryor for that. In addition to the CEO Action for Diversity, Thrive has been an active participant in developing the Alliance for Global Inclusion. There is a coalition that was launched at the earlier parts of this year. And so Thrive has been honored to be asked to be a leader in that coalition. And some of the focus areas that we will be working with this coalition on is providing technology industry adoption and inclusive engineering of language. So that inclusive language that all companies are seeking to adopt and making sure, again, a more inclusive workplace is provided for their employees. The last, and again, certainly not least, we're working with them in improving STEM readiness in higher education so that those underserved, I should say, minorities get access to STEM fields and social mobility that they wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to have access to. So we're really excited about that and more to come. If you would like to learn more about the Alliance for Global Inclusion, please reach out to our Diversity and Inclusion Office, or you can reach out to anyone within Thrive Leadership and we can share with you more. Last and certainly not least on this list, I would like to highlight our professional development initiatives. We have several, but one of the major focuses that we've worked in tandem with our talent and acquisition team is assisting the expansion and relationships with historically Black colleges and universities, also known as HBCUs. So we're looking to increase the attraction the hiring and the retention of emerging talent of students and future employees that look like us. So we're really excited to continue in those initiatives. We have several executive sponsors within Thrive that have served on this committee and this initiative, as well as ambassadors for the respective schools that we may have attended. So look forward to hearing more about that in months to come. We have one more initiative from a global standpoint, and I hope I'm staying on time here, but Thrive is also working very closely with our CIO office, having peer-to-peer CIO virtual discussions. We've had the luxury to have conversations with clients that were centered around their passions on diversity, inclusion, and equity. We've met with our first top 3 life sciences accounts. And so we had kind of a mini brainstorming sessions on, what are the social determinants of health and how can we make sure that we make those social determinants of health relatable to the capabilities and perspectives that are presented within their companies and also within the communities. So I feel like I've said a lot here. I hope that you all that are attending the call today, you're inspired to learn more about Thrive. If you are already a member, please spread the word. And I'm going to turn it back over to you, Tiffany, so we can go ahead and hear from the other chapters.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lucretia Marilees, and I am a chapter leader for Thrive DMV. I'd like to introduce the full DMV leadership team, starting with our executive sponsor and president of public sector, Timothy Conway, HR business partner, Tisha Thomas, and Janine Irvin. For those who don't know what DMV stands for, it stands for DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And we're located in the McLean office in Virginia. Our chapter launched in February of 2020 with 8 members, and we have grown to 43 members. Tisha.
Thank you very much, Lucretia. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Tisha Thomas, and as Lucretia mentioned, I am one of the chapter leaders of Thrive DMV, and we've had a very busy 12 months. Last year, we partnered with Good News Community Kitchen by donating over 6,000 packets of oatmeal in our first ever oatmeal drive. In February of this year, we kicked off Black History Month with weekly newsletters highlighting historical facts, recipes, literature, and fun trivia games. In March, we donated 25 Easter baskets to She Believes in Me, a nonprofit organization based in Herndon, Virginia, that empowers adolescent girls to believe in themselves, find their voices, and pursue their dreams. In May, our chapter partnered with the Vet ERG to host a Memorial Day happy hour, where we heard from our fellow colleagues about adjusting to civilian life after returning home from the military. In June, we spent our focus on educating ourselves and others of the importance of Juneteenth. We hosted a Juneteenth paint and sip to commemorate the recently declared federal holiday, which honors the day Black slaves were notified of their freedom in Galveston, Texas on June 19th of 1865. Most recently, we finished up a school supply drive to support local communities in our area. And last but certainly not least, we plan to spend the next several months building out our Thrive DMV mentorship program. Thank you so much for your time. And now I'll pass it over to Thrive Georgia.
Thank you, Tisha, and good day, everyone. My name is Brian Johnson, and I'll take the next couple of minutes to highlight the programs that Thrive Georgia has brought to the greater Thrive and NTT data community, and then pivot to highlight the priorities for the near future. First, let me introduce the Thrive Georgia leadership team. In addition to myself, you see pictured here Glenn Williams and Leslie Cofield. Leslie, Glenn, and I are passionate about engaging our local colleagues here, our members of Thrive, and those that are interested in Thrive, and having an impact not just on the local community for Thrive Georgia, but also bringing a wealth of experience, guest speakers, and other programs, and sharing that with the greater Thrive and NTT data global community. As it's highlighted here on this particular slide, I'm going to take a moment to highlight a few of the activities that you see listed here. and then I'll be looking forward to highlight what's coming down the line in the near future. First, what I wanted to highlight is back in March, they kind of kicked the initiative off. We had a conversation and cocktail session to qualify the interest in starting a Thrive Georgia chapter. The result was an overwhelming success, and months later, we were able to officially start the Thrive Georgia chapter. The next contribution that we made to really the greater Thrive and NTT data community is introducing to the greater community through the Thrive Speaker Series, Dr. William Jackson. Dr. William Jackson spoke about the impact of COVID-19 and the importance of taking control of your health individually and collectively as a community. The interest in Dr. Williams and the content that he was speaking to extended well beyond the Thrive and the NTT data US community, but we had tremendous participation globally. Next, I'd like to focus in on our emerging partnership with a local STEM high school called Paul Duke STEM High School, located in the Metro Atlanta area. Our partnership with this school is focused initially on launching a speaker series for the students to hear more from STEM professionals that have very diverse backgrounds, both in industry and where they started in their profession. The goal, as Gina had said a few minutes ago, is really very much so focused on STEM readiness. This is to motivate, inspire, and share the wisdom of other STEM professionals with these students. As a matter of fact, diverse STEM students, as they prepare for the next step in their journey to become STEM professionals, both at the collegiate and then transitioning to the professional level. That is where I wanted to finish up with on a good note. And now I'd like to pass the baton to Thrive Carolinas.
There we are. I was on mute. Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Pamela Raymond, the Communications and Engagement Lead for Thrive Carolinas. Good afternoon. Thrive Carolinas has had a very productive 2021 so far. First, we were excited that we were able to host the Juneteenth celebration on June 17th. 164 attendees were mesmerized by the inspiring life story of Judge Shirley Fulton, who was elected the first African-American female Superior Court judge in the state of North Carolina in 1988, and she served in that role for 16 years. To make the event even more powerful, the announcement of Juneteenth as a federal holiday came during that call. So it was definitely one to remember. If you missed it or just want to catch it again, all 5 presentations are available in Catalyst, and Tiffany will leave a link in the chat for you. Next, Thrive Carolinas is looking forward to more ways to engage with our members. The chapter just released its first quarterly newsletter on August 20th. So if you didn't get it or you missed it, no problem. You can contact us at thrivecarolinas@nttdata.com, and we'd be happy to share that with you. And coming soon to the chapter is launching a holiday volunteer and donation event to benefit Hope Vibes. It's a nonprofit dedicated to bringing awareness, hope, and real solutions to the homeless epidemic that is unfortunately in Charlotte, Mecklenburg area. Details are in progress, but we hope to release full event information in early October with an anticipated donation drive to run from Halloween through mid-November. Thrive Carolinas is also going to be planning another amazing speaker to share with you, and that's going to also be coming in late fall, so just stay tuned for that. And finally, Thrive Carolinas relies on the dedication and hard work of so many people, and we want to recognize them here on the slide. And I especially want to give a very big thanks to our leads, Yolanda Hemphill and Martha Brown, who without them, I would not be able to be successful in taking on the challenges that I have to bring Thrive Carolinas to life. So thank you very much to those two amazing women. And thank you to the steering committee for the opportunity to share Thrive Carolina highlights with you.
So now we will hear from Leslie Cofield, and she will introduce our speaker for today. And Leslie, you are on mute.
Thank you, Tiffany. As a member of the Thrive Steering Committee and a co-leader of Thrive Georgia, I would like for you to join me in welcoming Mayor Bobbie Jones as today's speaker. Mayor Jones, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend a few moments with us today. We look forward to hearing about you, learning more about the town of Princeville and its historical relevance. Mayor Jones, I'll turn the program over to you.
Mayor Jones, you are on mute.
How is that?
Much
Can you
better.
hear me
Thank
now?
you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cofield, for the introduction, and Thrive for the invitation. Let me just say how impressed I am with what I've heard on today and what you all are doing for our community. Thank you so much. Let me start with a disclaimer. I love all people. However, I'm very honest and forthcoming, sometimes to a fault. But I don't believe in sugarcoating anything. I believe in telling the truth, and some people just can't handle the truth. So if you can't handle the truth, let me apologize up front. Let me start off with a little bit about Edgecombe County, which Princeville is a part of. Edgecombe County is high poverty, high unemployment, high dropout rate, very low educational level. And we lead in the state in several of the negative categories such as obesity, diabetes, heart disease, AIDS, and of course, COVID. But there are some positive things going on in Edgecombe County as well as Princeville. As you can see, when I went to the Marine Corps right after high school, one of the reasons I left because most of the people are leaving Edgecombe County as we speak, and I was in the same situation when I was a young man. I wanted to leave and never to come back except to come visit. But as of the last census report, we had lost 13% of our people since 10 years. So I left Edgecombe County. I joined the United States Marine Corps. The best thing I've ever done, one of the best things I've ever done, because it allowed me to grow up and become a man. I served 2.5 years as a payroll clerk in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. I served 10 months as a security guard, Marine security guard, at our consulate in Istanbul, Turkey. And I served 20 months at our American Embassy in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. And they absolutely spoiled us on Marine security duty. But after my duty was over, they wanted me to go back to Camp Lejeune, live in the open squad bay, and I didn't feel like going back to the open squad bay. So I decided to get out and go to school. I didn't have a lot of confidence in my abilities as getting an education because it was never taught. So I decided to go to junior college first, and I did extremely well. I earned the Best Business Administration Student Award. So I said if I could win the Best Business Administration Student Award upon graduation, at least I could be able to graduate from a four-year college. So I moved closer to home, North Carolina Wesleyan College. And after graduating from Wesleyan College, I went to work for a Fortune 500 company. I worked for 2.5 years, received an educational leave of absence, went to Howard University, earned my MBA, went back to the same company, worked 2.5 years, and was fired. I was out of work for 18 months, even though I had served my country, even though I had an MBA, a associate's degree, and a BS, nobody would hire me. So I ended up in the education field because one of my coworkers at the Fortune 500 company, he was a his wife was a principal, so she needed a teacher. So I applied and went through the lateral entry program, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I started out teaching at-risk students, and I quickly found out that at-risk simply meant that kids were not cared for. They didn't have a relationship with the educators. So I quickly built that relationship with the educators, and one of the things I did was I went on a Saturday and knocked on a child's door to talk to that child's parents about his behavior. From that day forward, there was order in the classroom, and I had 24 students in that classroom, and 22 of those students at the end of the year passed both the reading and the math EOG, simply because of that relationship. They were capable of doing the work, but they just wanted to be rambunctious. So even after the 6th grade year, went to the 7th grade year, a lot of them maintained the A and B honor roll. So after 4 years at the middle school, I went to the high school and I taught business administration. After teaching there, I decided to go to NC State University to earn an MSA and become an assistant principal. I was assistant principal in Nash Rocky Mount for 4 years. Then I came back to Edgecombe County, my home county, for 2 years. And at Nash Rocky Mount, we were at an excellent school, excellent results, and everybody was so certain that once our principal got another job to open another school, that I was going to be moved up to the principalship. However, another individual earned that honor, so I was contacted by my home county to come back, and that's why I went back to my home county. However, after each one of those schools needed a principal, and I applied and was turned down each time, I did have the opportunity to apply in Hertford County, where my former assistant principal was now superintendent. And because he knew my background was in CTE, which is Career and Technical Education Business, and he knew my work ethic, that's why I became principal at C.S. Brown High School STEM. And this is my 5th year as principal at C.S. Brown. Also, this is my 8th year as mayor of the oldest town chartered by Blacks in America, Princeville, North Carolina. And I'm up for re-election in March. So if you appreciate my presentation today, I will be sending out my Cash App for campaign contributions. Thank you so much. I was just going to the next question.
As soon as I get off mute, Mayor Jones. So first, I want to thank you for sharing this information with us. It's just absolutely impressive, all that you've done for our future, which is our children. And I want to certainly thank you for your service to our country. I also noticed that you and I are both alumni of Howard University. So I wanted to mention that. Yes, absolutely. I graduated from Howard as an undergraduate.
All right.
Yes. So before we move to the next portion of our program, which will be some questions, a little conversation with Mayor Jones, I just want to remind all of our participants to please enter your questions in the Q&A box so that we can monitor those and address those at the end of the program. All right, now moving on, I want to mention a few things here. So the town of Princeville has a unique history that started when a group of former slaves established a home for themselves in 1865 and named it Freedom Hill. Could you discuss, Mayor Jones, the many challenges such as annexation, floods, Hurricane Floyd, et cetera, that Princeville has overcome during since its chartering in 1885?
Yes, ma'am. We had very little issues with annexation. However, of course, because we were a swamp, basically a swamp, we had many issues with flooding. Prior to 1965, every time there was a hard rain, the town of Princeville would flood, and many of our citizens would move, and some would come back, and some never would return. However, additional citizens from other places would come to the town of Princeville. For example, in 1999 flood, we had about 2,100 citizens. In 2016, we had 2,200 citizens. So now we have about 1,500 citizens, but people are still returning because we have some great things going on in the town of Princeville. However, at the same time, in 1965, the Army Corps of Engineers built the levee which protected our town from floods until 1999. Of course, that was flood. And in 1995, there was a bypass built near the town of Princeville. It was supposed to be a part of the dike. However, collaboration between the Army Corps of Engineers and North Carolina DOT did not take place because NCDOT just built the bypass to standards instead of building it to be a part of a dike. Therefore, some of the portions of the older dike were retired. Some of the floodgates were left off. So in 1999, the floodwaters came around the dike and through some of the floodgates. So in my opinion, that's why we were so devastated by Floyd. Floyd destroyed every building in our city, and many were beyond repair. However, this flood was a blessing in at least two ways. Every citizen received a new house and worldwide publicity, which resulted in the artist formerly known as Prince sending a sizable donation for building supplies, and we certainly appreciate the artist formerly known as Prince, along with other individuals and organizations that came to the assistance of Town of Princeville. And because of that, and because of Jesus Christ, we stand stronger today than we ever had before. Back in the 1800s, early 1900s, we had 35 black-owned businesses. But after integration, of course, that's one thing I keep scratching my head about is why we would go over to Tarboro and be served at the back door instead of staying in our own hometowns and going in and treated like royalty. But because of that, we lost a lot of our businesses, and we're down to maybe 10, 15 at this present time. Right after Floyd in 1999, we talked about the Army Corps of Engineers building the dike in 1965, but we approached them again in 1999 to have them refortify the dike. And it took them almost 20 years to finish the survey. I came into office in 2014, and in 2016, they came to us in a celebratory mode that they had finally finished the completion of the study. That was a study. That was from 1999. But at least they had finished it. And they told us at that point, this was in July of 2016, that once Congress had passed the appropriations for the dike, then the plows would be in the ground. So we were excited about that. However, this proved not to be true because, of course, you know what happened in October of 2016. Matthew came, and Congress still has not approved allocated the fund for the dike. However, in January of 2020, the funds were finally allocated to upgrade our dike. But now, they're still doing more studies. And of course, we understand the reasoning why they're doing those studies, because certainly we don't want any negative impact on any communities, upstream or downstream. So they came to us about January, said their first rendering of what they want to do, produce flooding both upstream and downstream. Then they came back to us about June and said they have reduced the amount of negative impact, but it still was not a zero impact. And we understand that, but however, it should not take 20 years to complete a study. The dike should have been fortified already since 1999. So that's where we are with the issues that we face as the town of Princeville.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. I totally agree with you that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers should have completed their study by now. And hopefully this work will be done before the next major hurricane hits Princeville. On the other hand, thank goodness for the generosity of the late and great Prince Rogers Nelson and others who certainly helped Princeville and its residents survive Hurricane Floyd, and you're still standing today to tell about it. So that's just wonderful. Moving on to what we do here at NTT Data, Thrive was chartered and started as an employee resource group to provide and support programs and experiences that increase inclusion, diversity, and promote the success and advancement of Black employees at all levels within NTT Data Services. As the principal of C.S. Brown High School STEM, the first standalone high school for Black people in North Carolina, you know the importance of creating and supporting programs for our community. Why do you feel it is necessary to provide STEM educational programs to your residents?
Well, it's imperative to have STEM education program in Princeville and at our school, because STEM education for our students will be allow our students to be more globally competitive. We want to provide our children the best quality education possible, and we believe that will be accomplished through the STEM education process. As I see our students at C.S. Brown High School STEM, they get more hands-on activities. Kids are different now because they can't sit down more than 15 minutes and stay focused on the lesson. And STEM allows them to move and interact and get some hands-on experience about what it takes to become a career, have a career in the STEM field. We have been so blessed with positive, productive relationships here at C.S. Brown High School STEM with various stakeholders. One example is we were at a function in Raleigh and we met a scientist that works at Duke University, and his wife works at East Carolina University. And they came to us and said they really want to work with our students because they found out that we were a STEM program. And they did. They came down and they took our students out on the ocean and they in the river, and they got water samples, and they came back and they analyzed the water samples. They analyzed the water samples in our building, and they built a weather station here on our campus, and that led to another project where we have worked with Dominion Energy, where we placed a solar panel on our campus. So those type of things, we're thinking outside of the box, we're getting people outside of the four walls, and we're giving them some real hands-on, lifelong experiences that they will never forget, and we're motivating them to go into the STEM field.
That is very impressive. I mean, to have a weather station and a solar panel and other advancements in your schools and on your campuses is just absolutely impressive, and will certainly prepare your scholars for success as college students. This is great work that you're doing. Additionally, NTT Data and the respective ERGs have a focus on supporting STEM development in underserved communities. It is a key focus area for the Alliance for Global Inclusion, a coalition of which NTT Data is a founding partner. We are looking to develop relationships with organizations in metropolitan areas that support STEM development in underserved communities. How did you get involved with CS Brown, and why do you feel that STEM should be a focus?
I got involved with C.S. Brown. Again, I believe this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is my destiny, as well as being mayor of the oldest town chartered by Blacks in America. At the same time, because C.S. Brown is the oldest school started for Blacks in the state of North Carolina. That just didn't happen. The superintendent that works here in Hertford County at this time, he used to be my assistant principal in Edgecombe County, and he knew that I was career and technical education teacher. He knew that that has an impact on STEM as well. So this was a STEM school, so he offered me this opportunity, which I gladly accepted. And one of the things that I found was it's important that we, again, build those positive relationships with students, because when I walked through the door at C.S. Brown High School STEM in 2017, we were labeled a C school by the state. And when I looked at and interacted with the students and the teachers and the family members, I told them about a month later, I said, we are not a C school. We are an A school. And a lot of people laughed at me, but that was in February of 17. We took the assessments in May of 17, got the results back in September of 17, and we moved from a C to a B. And we celebrated, but then I re-emphasized the fact, I said, I didn't say we were a B school. I said we are an A school. So we went to work again, and then the next year, September of, I guess it was 19 then, or 18, we were an A school. And last year we maintained that A because it all has to do with your mentality, it has to do with your belief, and your belief filters down to the students, faculty, and staff. And that's important for STEM schools especially because, again, we are trying to prepare students for the real world. We want them to be globally competitive. And if you don't have science, technology, engineering, and math, you're not going to be competitive globally. So I came on because of my work ethic, and that work ethic flows down to our teachers and our faculty and staff and our students as well. And the parents start to believe. And once you have the parents believing in what you're doing and the students are happy and the teachers are happy, you have a combination of success.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Mayor Jones. And I believe that Princeville is fortunate to have you as their mayor, especially for 8 years. I'm sure your can-do attitude and commitment to excellence has really fueled Princeville's growth, and you've certainly made an impact on your scholars in the area. As a proud native North Carolinian, I've known about Princeville for several years, and I'm aware that Princeville covers a small geographical area and is located very close to the city of Rocky Mount, which also sits in Edgecombe County. What is the primary industry and who is the primary employer in Princeville? Or do the residents primarily work in surrounding cities and towns while maintaining residence in Princeville?
Well, unfortunately, most of our residents just live in Princeville and they work in surrounding towns and municipalities. And that's one of our goals that we're working on. We want to become self-sufficient and self-sustaining. And we do that through education. We do that through STEM education. It's important for us to understand that the American dream is real, but we have to go get the American dream. Nobody's going to bring it to us and sit it in our laps. And we can go out there and achieve the American dream through hard work, dedication, and following that STEM curriculum. Even with STEM, it comes back to the basics as well, reading, writing, and arithmetic. If you can't read and you can't write, it's going to be very difficult to earn the American dream. But if you know how to read and write and know how to think, which is required of the STEM, which is required of STEM, you're going to be successful. So therefore, we have a lot of organizations, a lot of businesses around in Edgecombe County. However, again, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are still leaving, even though we just had some tremendous positive news that 3 organizations, 3 industries are moving to Edgecombe County. One is CSX, and one is Triangle Tire, which is a Chinese tire manufacturer, and Corning just opened. But we still have to provide people with some things to do once they get out of work. Right now, we have to drive to an hour to Raleigh or 30 minutes to East Carolina University, which is Greenville, and 2 hours to the beach. But when you get off work after a long day's work, you just want something to do in the local area. And those are the things we're working on to try to get people to come to Princeville, come to Edgecombe County, and live, work, and play.
Well, your efforts are certainly paying off, as evidenced by the 3 corporations that are moving into Princeville. So that is wonderful. I think your urban revitalization plan is amazing. I'm sure the citizens of Princeville are excited about the possibilities.
Let me make a correction right quick. They're not coming to Princeville, but they're coming to Edgecombe County.
Edgecombe County. Well, still in the same county though, right? You're not going all the way to Raleigh. So it's a little closer to home. It's a little closer to home.
Right.
Yes, yes. On your town's website, I noticed that an RFP has been issued for economic development. Please describe your top 3 economic development initiatives for the town of Princeville.
Our top 3 economic initiatives for the town of Princeville is tourism, and our goal is to become the world's #1 positive tourist attraction. And I know a lot of people are scratching their heads about that because you got Walt Disney World and you got all these places. But when you're the oldest town chartered by blacks in America, and the people from around the country, not just around this country, but around the world, are taking note of, taking interest of the town of Princeville, we're going to have a red carpet for everyone to come and visit us. But once they get there, we want to have, again, something for them to do, somewhere for them to play, and somewhere for them to spend money so we can increase our tax base. So we increase our tax base, we'll be able to do more things for our people. The second is housing. I mentioned there's a shortage of housing in eastern North Carolina. Those 3,000 jobs are coming, but where are they going to live? We certainly don't want them to come to Edgecombe County to work and go live someplace else. So we have to address that issue of housing. And entrepreneurship. We have some very talented people in Edgecombe County, in the town of Princeville, but just have not tapped into that skill that they have. So we're going to motivate them to tap into that skill and develop those entrepreneurships. And those 3 things together, will put Princeville on the right track.
Yes, that is amazing. And I read somewhere that you all have recently purchased 150 acres of land to help with your revitalization plan.
That is exactly right. Initially, we had 53 acres, and it's outside of what they consider the flood zone. And we've already made plans to move the fire department, public works, on the 53 acres with the low-cost housing development. But we're not going to stop there. We want to have anybody and everybody that wants to live on the 53 acres to come there as well. One of the positive things about the 53 acres, it is now on Highway Bypass 64. Bypass 64 is turning into Interstate 87, and it's going to run from Florida all the way to Norfolk, Virginia. So there are tremendous opportunities for development right there on the interstate, where people can come in to town of Princeville and purchase, play, and live if they so desire. The 88 acres is adjacent to the 53 acres. We purchased that last year, and we're going to do more housing on the 88 and more commercial on the 53 because the 53, again, is closer to the interstate.
That's wonderful. I really look forward to seeing Princeville grow. This sounds like you have a great plan that will certainly wisely utilize the 150 acres that you recently purchased, and will certainly enhance the residents and the lives of your residents in Princeville. Could you tell me what is the age of the oldest resident in Princeville?
Well, unfortunately, Mr. James Ed Bridges was 101 years old, and he passed away in January of this year. And he was still keen. He was still driving. Matter of fact, he had just bought a brand new 2021 car. Matter of fact, for his birthday. And he left us in January. Now we have Miss Irene Jones, who turns 107 years old on September the 24th. And the only thing she wants from the town this year is to allow her to take a picture at the new Senior Citizen Center, which is going to be open this month. Last year we did a drive-by for her and presented her with 106 pieces of candy, which is her favorite, 106 balloons, 106 cars drove by, $106, $1,006 just to celebrate Miss Irene Jones. And we're not related anyway.
All right, so I want to move Mayor Jones into Q&A, and a couple questions have come in for you from folks that have attended this meeting. I know you talked a little bit about your main priorities as mayor of Princeville. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to that list of your main priorities?
Well, let me back up to 2013 when I decided to run for office. I'm not a politician. I'm a hard worker, and I love the town of Princeville. Princeville is my passion. So when people approach me about running, I turn so many people down. But at the same time, when I was picking up newspapers, and every time I would pick up a newspaper, I would see something negative about my people and about my town. And the last time was just enough. I said, okay, I'm going to run because one of my platform issues is going to be every time we see something negative about the town of Princeville, we're going to produce at least 5 positive articles. And we did exactly that. And because I'm on with Thrive today, that is another positive article. And we continue to do things like this because we understand that perception become reality. 2013, before, the negative perception was reality. Now we have the positive perception, and that's becoming reality. And we thank you all so much for this opportunity again.
All right, thank you. I am going to turn it back over to Tiffany. There were some other questions, and so we will send those questions via email if you wouldn't mind answering some of those, and we'll get those out to the group. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here today and educating us on the town of Princeville.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks again, everyone. So we're going to move to Marty, please.
All right, well, thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Mayor Jones, for that wonderful presentation. Everybody, I want to give you all a few closing remarks, takeaways. Remember, Black history happens every day. It's all of our responsibility to learn more and share our history. I want you to make sure you visit the Town of Princeville link that will be provided to you in the information provided after this session to learn more about this historically founded and incorporated 95% Black populated town, featured by our guest speaker, Mayor Bobbie Jones. And again, we want to thank you for the wonderful presentation. Everybody on the call, we want to make sure that you're involved with ERGs. There is an ERG growth campaign, and it kicks off on August the 30th. There are going to be 2 open houses, one on September the 30th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, and another one at October the 7th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. So please get involved and remain involved. Not only can you join Thrive, but there are other ERGs as well that you may be interested in. WIN, Pride, Lift, various ones. They're all doing very outstanding work. Another point I want to remind everybody about, 58 years ago, the groundbreaking I Have a Dream speech was delivered on August 28, 1963. In honor of the great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and this unforgettable moment, a special commemoration is going to be available on all of our social media outlets and MyHub. So please take a look at that. Also on tomorrow, August the 26th, WIN has a Women's Equality Day. In honor of this day, WIN is offering a self-study program about the experiences of women in the workplace and skills needed for success. And we encourage everyone on here to review these resources and catalysts, and training credits will be made available for individuals who participate. Also on August 27th is Wear Purple Day for Pride. It's an easy way to remind the LGBTQ plus youth that they have support. Take a selfie in your purple and post it on the Pride Yammer site. And finally, a couple other things that if you would like to suggest a topic for discussion or professional development interest, please send an email to thrive@nttdata.com. A replay of this event will be available shortly after the meeting, along with the survey, so that you can let us know how you feel about today's presentation. The link will also have additional resources that will be made available to you as well. One other announcement I want to make, I want to congratulate Leslie Cofield and Brian Johnson to our Thrive Steering Committee. They've accepted these 2 positions. We look forward to having them participate as part of the overall Thrive Steering Committee. We have a lot of work to do, and we look forward to your continued participation. We also hope you've enjoyed today's Thrive event. We want to give a special thanks to our guest speaker, Mayor Bobbie Jones, for this wonderful and fascinating story about Princeville. We also want to thank the production team. We also want to thank our Thrive core team members. And most importantly, we want to thank each and every one of you all for participating. Our success is built on your participation. Before you leave today, we're going to play a short excerpt of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Until the next time we meet, everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and keep a lookout for each other.
So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.